course is Psychology of Consciousness. It doesn't describe what is the purpose of the course. The purpose is to master psychology that leads to consciousness. Because there are many types of psychologies, right? We have cognitive psychology, we have gestalt psychology, we have so many psychologies, psychology from the beginnings of time. Even Freud said that it's the science that is going to help humanity to be happier and healthier mentally. So happiness has been at the center of the purpose of psychology. So many psychotherapists or methodologies have come forward through the decades after Freud that present a different, a different option to attain greater happiness and greater mental health. But if we look at the level of neurosis in this world, we can conclude that psychology has failed. Right? It has helped a lot of people, of course, but it has not created a civilization that is happier. No. So still the question is out there, is how we're going to create a psychology that will really lead to happiness. And I think it's very easy to see why it has failed. They focus into changing the contents of the mind, moving from negative thoughts to positive thoughts, from negative emotions to positive emotions, and so on. So changing the content of the mind so that we can feel more comfortable. And that seems to be a hopeless project to some degree. There is an improvement, yes, we can use cognitive psychology. In fact, I have taught cognitive psychology for quite some time, and I see value there. But we can use cognitive psychology to move towards more positive thoughts. But the mind, by its nature, tends to oscillate and to be dualistic. So still we will have a certain amount of thoughts that will be less than ideal. And that will create feelings that are less than ideal. So the psychology that we need in order to transcend really suffering and to move into true happiness as a species, as humans, is a psychology that transcends the mind. So psychology of consciousness points at transcending the mind, at moving into consciousness. So it's a whole psychology that leads into and points to consciousness, away from the mind.
So then the next step would be, how would you define consciousness?
Okay. Sure, that's pretty easy, in fact. Despite that the word is seems so scary, consciousness. So what is that? I can grab it, I can see it. But is that which is hearing these words, right? Is that which is seeing through your eyes? Is that what is perceiving the sensations in the bodies? Is the perceiving, not the perceiver. We can elucubrate about the perceiver forever, but there's obviously here, right now, there is perceiving. And the perceiving is consciousness. So it is perceiving of visual inputs, perceiving of auditory inputs, perceiving of the temperature on the skin, which is pretty hot here. There's perceiving, and that perceiving, that is consciousness.
So would you say consciousness is physical on some level? Is it perceiving physical or not necessarily physical?
Well, to begin with, something that is so non-physical, in fact, that the perceiving is not limited to the senses. There is perceiving of our thoughts. There is perceiving of our emotions. There is perceiving of our drives. This perceiving is wide. It has the capacity to perceive all these things. So, going to your question is this perceiving is completely non-physical, meaning that it's not positive or negative. It's simply perceiving. It doesn't have a weight. We can weight. We cannot also touch it. we can say it is this wide or this deep or this much tall. It has no dimensions. We can elucubrate that perhaps it's kind of located in the brain. Now scientists are discovering that it's kind of not true, that it's located all over the body, and then one day they will find out that no, it's not located in the body. So consciousness is quite a challenge for science, because science is based on measurements, and this perceiving that is happening right now in exuberance, in fact, cannot be measured. And if it cannot be measured, you can imagine the problem for scientists, because science is based on measurements. What cannot be measured for science does not exist. Now, the problem for them is that they have realized already that consciousness does exist. Why? Because consciousness is the observing that is happening of the experiment. Without the observing of the experiment, there is no science either, right? And then they discovered quantum physics, that when you're observing an experiment at an atomic level, the results of the experiment may change just because there is observation of the experiment. So there is an indirect way to notice that there is the observing there. But it's obvious that the observing is not only why you are doing a scientific experiment, but it's happening when you wake up in the morning and there is awareness of the room. You drink your morning coffee and there is awareness of the smell of the coffee. And then you drive in the freeway and there is awareness of the road. And then you work and there is awareness of your work. Otherwise you couldn't do it. So there's always this awareness, which a better word would be awarenessing, right? There's always this awarenessing, this perceiving happening throughout the whole day. At the end of the day, you watch TV and there's awareness of the screen. And then you fall asleep and there is awareness of the dreams. And then you go deep into sleep and you may say, oh, awareness is gone. No, it's not. Because if somebody checks your body, you wake up. So there was the capacity there, awareness was kind of withdrawn, but at that moment there's the perceiving of the shaking of the body and you wake up, so awareness is there. So awareness is 24/7 in our experience, it's never away, it's constant. As the Buddhists put it, you know, what is constant is real. What comes and goes is the false. What comes and goes? The mind, the mental objects. Thoughts come and go. Emotions come and go. Drives, your desires come and go. Your beliefs even come and go. Sensations come and go. These 5 mental objects are coming and going. But they are always being seen by this unique, mysterious thing called consciousness.
So if someone asked you in this course, because they're going to be working on consciousness, how would you tell them that you're going to be helping them to develop this awareness or this consciousness that's maybe not measurable?
Right. Well, more than developing consciousness, because obviously consciousness is present already. Yeah, it's something that is absolutely present in every human being, in every sentient being. So what needs to happen, and that has been called awakening in the different traditions of the world, is a re-identification. We need to reconsider who we are. Are we this being that we were told, you know, so-and-so, that is now, 58 years old in this case? Or am I that perceiving? So what am I really? So this re-identification with your true nature, which is pure consciousness, this is what is called awakening. And it's a relatively simple thing to attain. Awakening is not rocket science. anyone can attain it. It requires to deconstruct some heavy programs that are there, though, because we have been programmed for a lifetime in this idea that I am so and so, that I am a persona, that I am this body, I am this mind, and this program is deep. But still, I would say that the seeing for the first time, that you are not the mind-body organism, not the mind, not the body, that you are just the perceiving of both. The first time that you see that, that is the awakening. And then you can discard the insight and continue with your life the way you were going, or you can take it seriously, because you can say, wait a second, I have devoted to this so-and-so, this me, this I have devoted to this I, my whole life. Decorating it with degrees, buying things to have more, attain things to be more successful, and on and on and on, constantly thinking about me and I and me and my plans, my future, my relatives, my children, my. Yeah, so I'm devoting my life to this project called me. I have devoted my whole life to this project, so I am, and then some, kind of wacky teacher comes and tells me that that thing doesn't exist, that it was just a story. And then I see it, I see that yes, it's true, there's nobody here inside. And then I can revert myself and say, no, I prefer to live in the false, and I will continue with the false, and that's a choice, But fortunately, this false identification is the root of suffering. That's the very root. I'm not saying that it's the whole thing, but it's the root of suffering. You remove that root, and the whole tree of suffering begins to dry, and eventually it dissolves. But without removing this root, you can go forever,